Hello, everyone. I'm Kurt Semder, and this is Marlins Daily on the Fan Arch Sports Network. Thanks for being here with us today as we look ahead to a week where the Marlins are back home after their 10-game road trip. The Marlins with the day off yesterday, a day that they definitely needed to rest. As we mentioned, they have not had a day off since June 25th, 10 days on the road, a chance to recover, a chance to get healthy, and a chance to kind of regroup before this big home set before the All-Star break. Now, the Marlins right now, though, are still taking a little bit of flack, and specifically manager Clayton McCullough, in regards to the decision that was made on Sunday to take Eury Perez out of the game after 7 innings, 7 perfect innings, as he was just 6 outs away from history. And we talked a little bit about this yesterday, and I was not a fan of the decision. I'm still not a fan of the decision, but you know, you go and you listen to what the manager, Clayton McCullough, had to say after the game. You listen to what Eury Perez had to say after the game. I think this is kind of one of those situations where, you know, both things can be true at the same time. You know, you listen to McCullough, and what he talked about after the game was that, you know, going in, they had a set pitch count for him, 90 pitches, 90 plus heading into the game. That was what they were sticking with. Just his third start since coming back from the injured list. They want to make sure that he is healthy, not just now, but he mentioned they want him healthy later in the season and past the regular season into postseason baseball, which is what the Marlins are shooting for. And he said this decision, while a tough one for him, you know, was made with Eury's best interest and with the team's best interests at heart. I agree with that. I'm not saying he's wrong by making those decisions based off that, because those are good points. Those are valid points. But at the same time, you know what? When history is knocking like that, you know, history is beckoning at that point, 6 outs away from a perfect game. We're not talking about just a no-hitter here. We're talking about a perfect game. These are rare. I think you have to, at least for a moment, discuss or think about throwing those analytics out the window. And I think this would have been one of those good situations to at least think about it. And the fact that, you know, Eury Perez said he came off the mound and the manager came right up to him and he knew. He knew he was being taken out of the game. He said he understands the decision. He didn't try to stay in the game. And I get all that. But you know he wanted to go back out there. And you know he wanted to try and get this done. And you can't blame him. At just 92 pitches, yes, he only has gone over 100 pitches twice in his career. Only once in last season, I believe it was, or was it this season? He has only gone over 100 pitches twice. So you're asking a lot of him. But again, you want to make history, you want to do something special. Sometimes that's what it takes. Now, if the Marlins make it to the playoffs and Eury Perez is healthy the rest of the way, and he is a big performer in the postseason, we can all circle back to this and say, great call. But if things don't work out, well, you missed out on an opportunity. And I think that's something that you got to consider here looking forward. So, look, Perez pitched 7 perfect innings. It was great. He's got one more start before the All-Star break. We'll see how he does in that. But this was a tough one. You saw the fans making it looked like a scene out of Game of Thrones, chanting "shame, shame" at Clayton McCullough. He said it didn't bother him at all, and nor should it. There were about 20 people in the stands there in Sacramento for the game anyway. So, look, it would have been great to see it happen, and I think you have to make the right decision for the team, and you have to make the right decision for the player. I don't know that this was the right decision, but they feel like it was. And you got to respect that, I guess. And you got to just kind of listen to the manager and follow him, and hopefully it'll all work out. The important thing, too, is that the Marlins were able to win the game, even though they almost lost it. But we'll see how this plays out. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully Perez is healthy the rest of the way. And hopefully he's making a big start in the playoffs for the team. And it's all perhaps as a result of them deciding to not push him in this start in early July, looking for a perfect game. So, you know what? We'll let it slide for now, but I still would have loved to have seen him gone for history. I think he would have loved to have gone for it too. And look, would have been great. Didn't happen. What are you going to do? Let's talk about the All-Star game, folks. The Miami Marlins have two All-Stars heading to Philadelphia, something that we said might happen here on the show. We were hoping would happen, and it did. Otto Lopez, the shortstop, going to the All-Star game for the first time in his career, and deservedly so. What an offensive season he is having. I want to take a closer look at his numbers later on this week, but for right now, a quick glance. I mean, he's leading the league in batting average, leading the league in hits, leading all of baseball in doubles, as well as batting average and hits, top 5 in triples, top 10 in runs. He is just getting it done. A consistent force there in the lineup. He's got more multi-hit games this season than any other Marlins player in history at this point in the year. I mean, he's just doing amazing stuff up there. You can tell that he is confident, and he's getting more and more confident as it goes, which just begs the question, how much better can he get this season? You keep waiting for that slump that's going to come around. It hasn't quite happened yet. He's just been that consistent, getting big hits, getting extra base hits, and delivering in the clutch too. And that's kind of the key thing for him. So he deserves it, and I'm really happy for him making his first All-Star team. Would have loved to have seen him start the game, but he'll be there. And as we've seen in All-Star games, a lot of times the guys who start don't play most of the game anyway, so we'll see how many innings and how many at-bats Otto Lopez gets in Philadelphia. The other All-Star is Max Meyer. Very happy for him, very happy for the starting pitcher and the ace of this staff right now. 9-1 on the year, took his very first loss of the season in his last start, but an ERA of 2.53, 112 strikeouts. He has been getting it done this year and has really, really carried this team and helped them to get off from the struggles early on in the season and really helped them through June to jump back into things here. The key thing with Meyer, and I think this is something to consider going forward here, is whether or not he's going to pitch in the All-Star game. The baseball has this rule where if you pitch on the Sunday before the All-Star game, you are ineligible to pitch in the All-Star game. It's done to protect pitchers and make sure that, they're not overused and they stay healthy and they don't hurt their team and their team's chances by pitching in the All-Star game. It's a good idea. And it's at least something that's pretty consistent. But as of right now, with Max Meyer scheduled to pitch tonight, he is also slated to pitch on Sunday in the first half's regular season finale. If he pitches in that game, that would mean no All-Star game for him, and baseball would have to name a representative. And yes, Max would still get to go to the game. He would still get his name announced. He would get to stand out there in front of the crowd and, be part of the festivities, but wouldn't actually pitch in the game. And maybe that's enough. But for somebody who's going to their very first All-Star game, I've got a feeling he wants to play in this game if possible. I just don't know what Miami can do. It just seems like one of those things that kind of the schedule just didn't favor them. I don't expect them to maybe go to a 6-man rotation. Seems silly to kind of bump him up a couple of days to pitch on Saturday instead of Sunday. The schedule just doesn't really allow it. If they wanted to, they could maybe bump him to pitch on Wednesday rather than later tonight, but I don't think that's going to happen either. Because again, you're talking about a team that these regular season games are all important. They matter more than an All-Star game, especially when you're in a playoff race. So to see what he's been able to do so far, he can technically pitch on Sunday, and the Marlins can approve him being used in the All-Star game with limited use. We've seen it kind of happen before. Usually it happens in regards to relief pitchers and closers, but I don't see Miami, especially when you talk about what we just finished talking about with Yuri Perez. The Marlins are taking their pitchers' health into account in a big way this year. So if Meyer pitches on Sunday, I don't think we're going to see him pitch in the All-Star game, which is a shame. But still, a great honor for him to be part of this and to make it to the All-Star game this season. But for Meyer, if he doesn't get there, then baseball's going to have to name a replacement. And who should they name as a replacement? Well, there are plenty of options there, but I would suggest, at least perhaps, maybe you don't have to look too far. Perhaps you just go to the same team. And that brings in Sandy Alcantara, who's been fantastic this year, and somebody who didn't get onto the All-Star team this year. Let's start with why he didn't make the All-Star team. And the thing about it is the National League is stacked with pitching this year. That's why I was talking about we didn't know if Max Meyer was actually going to make it onto the team because there are so many good pitchers in the National League this year. Making the All-Star team is no small accomplishment. You look at a guy in Philly and Zach Wheeler who's having a wonderful season, not on the team initially, may get named as a possible replacement. He could be a person who replaces Meyer or someone else like that. There's a lot of great pitching out there. And Sandy has been great the last 7 starts. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. He's 7-0 over his last 7 starts, an ERA under 3. But for the year, he's 10-4, an ERA of 4, and less than a strikeout an inning. He got off to a rough start, which is unfortunate considering just how good he has been for the last 7 starts. But the slow start, the struggles early on, kind of cost him here. And because of that, and because of the struggles that he had through those first 2 months of the season, I think that's why he wasn't named as one of the National League All-Stars. If baseball decides Meyer can't pitch in the game and they want to name somebody who could, Sandy would qualify. He could get it done. He's not scheduled to pitch until the weekend series with Cleveland, but not pitch on Sunday, so he would be able to go. But they may name somebody else. So we'll have to see which way they decide to go here, which way they decide baseball goes. But despite not being named to the All-Star team, we've mentioned it. Sandy has been fantastic. His name constantly mentioned in trade rumors, which is something I think Miami's just got to stop it. I think it might be time for just come out there and just say we're not trading him. I know they want to wait and play the long game here and wait until we get closer to the deadline, see how the team does. But maybe show the team a little bit of confidence and maybe just say, you know what, we're going for it and he's not on the market and we're going to add, we're not going to subtract. Because Sandy could probably bring you back something great, even if it's another package of prospects, if that's what you decide to do. But I don't think that's the way to go. And I think you have to you're going to get to that point with this team where you need to either say we're going for it or we're not. And they may be waiting until after the All-Star break because you don't want to come out of the break flat and lose, 5 of 6 and suddenly you're not where you want to be in the playoff race and you've already said you're going to go for it and you're going to have to backtrack. I get it, not wanting to do that. But when you have a young team that's playing well and their confidence level is high, might be great to, go above and push for it and kind of show them the confidence from the front office. That's all I'm saying. So will Sandy be an all-star? He'll have to be named as a replacement if it happens, but I don't believe he was snubbed in this selection process, and I think that's kind of the big thing for him. Still a great season, though. 7-0, got a chance to win his 8th straight start when he goes on to take on Cleveland this weekend. But before we get to Cleveland, you've got the Mariners in town. That's right. The Mariners are here to take on the Marlins. Just 3 letters separate these two teams, and very similar records, the very different places in their specific standings right now as the Mariners sit there atop the AL West, and the Marlins are sitting there in 3rd place in the NL East. But both teams having pretty good seasons right now. Seattle, fell just short of the World Series last year. They think that they have enough in them for a run this year again. We'll see if they can, and then we'll see what kind of team they've got when they're here in Miami this week. Pitching matchups are pretty good, as we mentioned. Max Meyer is going to take the ball tonight against Brian Wu. Ryan Gusto probably will be pitching the second game of the series, and more of a bullpen game once again. We've kind of seen Clayton McCullough do that, so I would expect that to happen here. They'll take on George Kirby, who's having a great year, and Tyler Phillips probably for the final game of the series against Bryce Miller. So good news for the team that Miami able to avoid Logan Gilbert, who has been Seattle's star in the rotation this year. Right now, Julio Rodriguez is on the 7-day injured list with a concussion, so I'm not quite 100% sure on the dates. He might be able to make it back for the last game of the series, or maybe they hold him out entirely. But for Miami, they're back home. They played really well at Lone Depot Park before heading out on the road trip. Want to see if they can keep that continuing. I'm really interested to see if some of these guys who stepped up on the road trip and got the power swing working for them. We talk about a guy like Kyle Stowers or Mack or Griffin Conine, these kind of guys who have really started to show some pop in their bat in some hitter-friendly ballparks. If they can keep that going when they come back home, that'd be great to see. And if the pitching can just continue to roll along. Marlins have had a great run here, right? But heading into the All-Star break, you want to keep that going. Just 6 more games now. really don't want to, go 2-4 here at home to wrap things up. At bare minimum, if you're a good team and you want to finish on a strong note, let's go 4-2 here in the homestand at least, and head into the All-Star break feeling good about the team, feeling good about our chances as they make their way into the second half, and the Marlins are going to be trying for a playoff push. And we'll see how they do in this series, and we'll see how they do in the opener. We'll recap that and have plenty more to talk about. We'll see if there's more to talk about with this perfect game. Who knows? On the next Marlins Daily. We'll see you tomorrow here on the Fan Arts Sports Network. I'm Kurt Semder, and enjoy the game tonight.